Hey Dibblings, if you're watching this, it's because you're pre-op or you're post-op, or you're a little trans egg that hasn't hatched yet. So welcome, I am very glad that you're here. I want to talk about something that genuinely drove me wild when I had top surgery, and honestly, it still does. After 10 years, surgical techniques for gender-affirming surgery have come so far. The results that people are getting are incredible, depending on which surgeon you go to. But the rehab side of things, the recovery side of things, the what happens after the bandages come off part, almost no one is talking about it. And when they do, it's usually vague, very generic, and it doesn't reflect real life at all. So today I want to talk about 5 things that nobody really prepares you for when it comes to gender affirming surgery, especially transmasculine and top surgery. The physical side, the mental side, and emotional side, there's a lot that's going on. Some context about myself, if you've never seen me or met me before or heard of me before, I've had my surgery almost 10 years ago now. I was playing team sports at the time, going to the gym and working a physical job. And the guidance that I got about returning to any of that was basically, if it hurts, don't do it. I got maybe some loose rules that I found online, like don't lift your arms too high, don't lift anything heavy for a bit. What's a bit? Listen to your body. Which sounds like good advice until you actually try and live your life. And I realized pretty quickly that there just aren't comprehensive rehab protocols out there for people recovering from top surgery. And that's why I made a course about it, but I'll talk about that later. I'm going to get to my tips. So thing number 1 is surgery won't fix everything, and that's okay. The first thing that nobody really prepares you for is that you sort of think that surgery is going to fix all of your problems and you're going to be super happy, and you are. And I don't want to scare you. I just want to ground you in that surgery can be life-changing, life-saving, and it totally is. It can reduce dysphoria. It can make you feel more at home, but it doesn't magically undo years of stress, coping mechanisms, trauma, or disconnection from your body. And when no one tells you that ahead of time, it can feel really confusing when you sort of get over that post-op euphoria and life settles down a bit and you think, well, why don't I feel the way I thought I would? That doesn't mean you made the wrong decision. It just means that you're human. I had been in therapy for a couple of years, but yeah, there's always another problem. There's always relationship trauma or family trauma or other parts of your dysphoria that then stand out more, which brings me to my next point. But going back to that first thing, the dysphoria or the surgery not really fixing your whole life, something that seems obvious, but can have a massive impact on your mental health after you recover from surgery. Like, you have this thing that you're counting down, and a lot of us are looking forward to it for, years. Like, you don't just wake up one day and be like, I'm going to chop my boobs off. We have these thoughts from a very young age, and then you're waiting to get your permission slip from the psychologist, from the doctor, whatever. And this thing is building up for such a long time, and you have it, and it's great. And it's sort of like post-vacation come down, like after you have a holiday and you get back home and you're like, oh, back to real life sort of thing. And then you have some time off from work after your surgery, and then it's back to real life. So I just want you all to be mentally prepared for experiencing that sort of drop after your surgery, like a sub drop, if you know, you know, which is related to point number 2. The dysphoria often shifts. The second thing that catches a lot of people off guard is that dysphoria doesn't always totally disappear. It often shifts. For some people, chest dysphoria eases and suddenly other things get louder. It can be gender dysphoria, or it could be body dysmorphia that pops up some more. I know that for me and a lot of my friends, the thing that we bond on that no one really talks about online that I've seen really is that when you remove your chest or when you flatten your chest, your belly sticks out a lot more. Whether you have a fairly flat one or a bit of a bigger one, visual juxtaposition is just a little bit jarring. And then that, if you already have body image issues, it can be really hard to digest at first. Or if you're someone that hasn't been working out in the gym and you don't really have any muscle tone there, or you got top surgery before HRT, or you're not doing HRT and you just got top surgery, like it can be flat, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I look like a 13-year-old boy. This is weird. So, then into body dysmorphia, and you'll want to work on your body in different ways. So I just want to put that in your mind that It's like when you get a really big tattoo. This tattoo I really like now, but when I first got it, it wraps all around my back. I was like, oh my gosh, is this going to be the first tattoo that I have tattoo regret about? Because it changes the entire upper part of my body and how it looks if I'm wearing a tank top, a singlet, whatever, shirts where it sticks out. Like, I was really sort of shocked at first when it was on there. And then I'm like, you know what? I really like it. And it just sort of blends in. And, so don't be worried if even when you wake up, you're like, oh my God, it looks so different. Yeah, it's shocking. It's a shocking thing to lose something, especially if you're like me and you had a double G chest. It's a shocking thing to lose something that's enormous. So don't worry if that is how you feel about it, because obviously it's the best decision ever. And there are more people who regret having some sort of like plastic surgery thing that's just about aesthetics that regret that surgery than there are trans people regretting gender transition surgery. So for people who get like lip fillers or like increase their chest size, those have way, way higher regret rates than a trans person having gender-affirming surgery, because we have to jump through so many more hoops before we get it. So we're obviously ready for it. It's not just like you wake up and you go to the doctor and they're like, sure, get in line. Just fast for 8 hours. I'll be right there. That's not how it happens. So with gender dysphoria shifting, it can be shifting, to what your scars look like. I know for me that before I had the surgery, I was just like, I don't care what it looks like, butcher my chest. I just want him off. I just want him off. Like, I was so upset and I needed it. Like, I just felt like I couldn't go on any longer. I've heard a lot of people speak about this. I don't know if it's ever been said online before, and it's quite horrible, but I know for myself and other people like that we have had wished to have breast cancer or something, because that would mean we would be set straight to the top of the line, straight to the front door of the hospital to get them chopped off. And I know that's horrific, and I definitely don't want to have cancer. And I know that that is a terrible thing for people to go through. But at the time, you just feel so dire. Like it's a life-saving surgery to have top surgery. And so at the time I was like, do whatever, I don't care what it looks like. But now I'm glad that I had a surgeon that was good with aesthetics and that I took care of my scars for the most part, because they look nice and they also don't cause me too much grief with the scar tissue that's underneath. We don't really realize it, but scar tissue can have quite a large effect on your body mechanics as a whole. The other part of dysphoria that your body might shift to focusing on is like your chest sensation. So if you were someone before that was very sensitive everywhere and you lost it all, that might be an issue. Or if you gain sensitivity, so you have a hypersensitive area. Like I know for quite a few years afterwards, it was really hard for me to do like a chest stretch or a torso stretch and twist my leg over one side, because stretching here would just send these like really intense pains. Or if, partner rolled over in bed and accidentally like pinch my chest or had their hands on my chest or something, I would just like cringe. Or if a dog walked over me or a cat like paw, oh my gosh, it just hurts so much. And then you just focus on what can I do to make this better. Maybe your dysphoria shifts to your posture, because you no longer have to hide like this. You realize, oh, I've been walking around like this for years. I look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. What am I going to do about it? Or maybe your dysphoria shifts to your voice and you're like, okay, now I want to get voice training, or I want to get a vocal cord procedure done to change what I sound like. Maybe your dysphoria will shift to your hips. For me, that sort of was a thing, but I was working out a lot at the time, so it wasn't too dramatic. But I know for some people, just like I was talking about with the stomach, like the hips can look a lot more noticeable, or your eyes will just go to them, because maybe that is now the biggest part of your body that sticks out and it makes you think that you look feminine and you can't stop thinking about that. Maybe your dysphoria shifts to the softness of your skin or some other curves, or maybe your dysphoria shifts to your strength and you think that you're not strong enough or you need to work out more. And these are all normal. Again, I'm not scaring anybody. I don't want to put the fear in anyone to not get top surgery. I love when people get top surgery because it's what they need and what they want and what makes them feel at home in their body. I simply want to ensure that you're mentally prepared and you have support systems in place for handling when these things pop up in your mind. You should ensure that you're continuing your psychotherapy, your sessions with your psychologist, psychiatrist, whoever you're seeing, you need to make sure that you have a support group around you, either online or in person, of other trans people who you can speak to about your experiences in case your family or your partner or whoever doesn't understand, or just to lighten the load off of them. If you do use your partner or your family to talk to, it's good to have a big support network for this thing specifically, because it's tough. As much as it's a wonderful, amazing experience, there are other things that pop up. And for some people, maybe it doesn't. Maybe your dysphoria doesn't shift and you're totally fine. Maybe you are someone that just wanted top surgery and you never really wanted bottom surgery and you don't think about that at all. But yeah, just know that life is never finished. It's a journey. As we know, there's not, okay, I finally got here now. We're going to live potentially a long time. So there's always going to be something else, another goal for you to have, which is not a bad thing. Goals are a good thing to live with as long as they're healthy for you and you're going about them in a clever way and you don't just feel like you're not getting anywhere. So yeah, I just want to make sure that you know that you haven't done the wrong thing if your brain is still sort of ruminating on other things that are going wrong. Dysphoria isn't just about body parts. It's about how the world responds to you and how people see you. And sometimes surgery opens the door to new layers of different sorts of awareness to this. Number 3, the emotional drop after physical healing, sort of like what I was saying before about coming home after a vacation. This one is never really talked about. I guess it's like when someone dies, like my dad died when I was 19 and, people were bringing me flowers in the first couple of weeks. I was sending food. And then after the first month, it sort of just stops. And you have all this attention and people want to help and they're there for you and da-da-da-da-da. And then all of a sudden it just stops and it's just dead quiet. And you're still living with this big change in your life. And other people are just gone back to normal, just back to business. And this can sort of happen with your top surgery as well, and maybe you've set up a meal train for yourself. Maybe you have friends coming to help you getting dressed or cooking for you or taking you for walks like a little puppy. And then when that slows down, or even, your post-op appointments or your pre-op appointments, your life sort of stops revolving. Everything stops revolving around top surgery. That can, and people stop checking in with you. When you're medically cleared for back to real life, it's weird, but you're not like emotionally there yet to go back to real life. And a lot of people experience this grief or irritability or numbness or anxiety or a weird sense of now what, because you've done this massive thing. You've been in survival mode for months, sometimes years leading up to surgery. And when that adrenaline drops, your nervous system finally goes, oh, we're safe now. And that's when feelings can show up, sometimes big feelings about, what you've sort of been suppressing because you've needed to be like, go, 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 go. I'm getting this thing done. I have a goal. I have a mission. And then you can have big feelings. So again, in order to counteract that, I want you to make sure that you're still going to see your therapist. You have your support network. Maybe you go to a support group in your city or town that's either online or in person for trans people. Just talking about it helps so much. And knowing that your experience is not unique. I know it's weird. It's an interesting thing now that we talk about a lot online about, wow, I guess I've never had a unique experience, which is interesting. It's sort of annoying, but mostly soothing to think we're all in this together. Sorry, I can't help it. We're all in this together. Humans share so many similar experiences, wants, needs, traumas, and we just need to understand each other a little bit more and realize that everyone is sort of going through a similar suffering in life. And yes, there are people who go through it more than others, who are in different classes, et cetera, but we all want to feel authentically ourselves. We want to feel comfortable in our bodies. We want to feel loved, and we want to feel like we belong. Which brings us to number 4. Your whole lifestyle affects your recovery. And your recovery is not just about your incisions healing and making sure that your scars are small. You have to ensure that your sleep is good, your stress levels are low, your moving in a way that is making sure you're loosening up all your fascia and you're getting the scar tissue moving, but you're not making anything worse by moving too much and stretching anything too much. You need to make sure you have a good support system. You need to make sure that your relationship with exercise is on point, because all of this impacts how you're healing. Two people can have the same surgery with the same surgeon, with the same pre-op chest size, and have completely different recoveries because their lives are vastly different. And yet, there are people out here giving often one-size-fits-all instructions. Healing doesn't happen in isolation. It happens inside the whole human being. You need to make sure that you're eating well, you're not smoking, you're staying hydrated, you're doing breathing exercises, you're making sure your joints stay loose so you don't get frozen shoulders or so you don't get even worse of a hunchback. You need to make sure that you're wearing your compression binder for as many hours as your surgeon recommends. You need to make sure that you're getting your walks and you're supporting your mental health and taking your meds when you can't sleep so you do get restful sleep through the night. And there's a lot to think about. You need to make sure you're taking your fiber so you're pooping because it's really hard to poop after you have surgery. My second surgery, yeah. I remember the first surgery that I had was my knee surgery, and my top surgery was my second ever surgery that I'd had, so I knew what surgery was like. But for some people, this is their first surgery and like their only one, and that can be a big thing, and there's a lot of uncertainty leading up to it and around it of how to heal, and a lot of people telling you do this and that. I was really lucky. I had friends come over and make me really healthy smoothies. Shout out to Sarah and a lot of other people. Tali, I love you, Tali James, who came to the hospital to see me. This is turning out to be a speech, an award acceptance speech. Thank you to my dog, my mom, my cousins. No, it's really important that you have these supports and people who are committed to your healing. And, you know, I have like Gail, my friend Gail is a nurse. I have had friends who are nurses and doctors that gave me great advice for what to eat, how to make sure I was pooping, and making sure I was getting enough rest and taking my meds on time and things like that. So you need to ensure that you're not just thinking about, okay, changing my dressings, da-da-da-da-da. You need to be thinking about so much stuff. Hence why I made a course called Heal and Thrive, Recovery After Top Surgery. Rule number 5, or thing number 5, what are we listing? Rules, things, with things. You need real community and honest information, which I guess is sort of a wrap-up of all of the other things that I was talking about. It's not just medical clearance that's necessary after top surgery. A lot of physiotherapists, trainers, and body workers genuinely want to help you, but they haven't been trained in gender-affirming care, which means a lot of them end up crowdsourcing advice online, learning through trial and error, or feeling like they're behind when they're not. And you deserve the best care. You deserve guidance that understands trans bodies, real movement, and real lives. I gathered research for, I'm going to say, at least a year before my top surgery happened. And I wrote it out on my notes app on my laptop. I'm going to go through that slowly this year. And now that we have the power of AI, consolidate it into actionable points and tiny little snippets. I guess it could probably be a book, you know? Maybe that should, I was been thinking, what should my book be about? I can definitely write a book about top surgery and about comparing people's results. You know, I was looking up videos and photos of people who had a pre-op chest size similar to mine and what that would look like afterwards. I was looking for videos online from people and in blogs from people talking about their recovery, what the timeline was like, when they could start wearing shirts again that were just like t-shirts, not just shirts with snaps. You know, what sort of materials I should have at home, what I'm going to get from the hospital, what I'm going to have to buy for myself. I have this giant encyclopedia of knowledge because my sort of weak spot as a business owner is that I get caught up in the details. But that is great for you and everyone who follows me and everyone who asks me for advice constantly, because I have collected and scrounged up all this information from all over the world, from other trans people, and I've put it in all my documents. So I have the knowledge and I want to share it with people, because why would I go through all of that just for myself? I want to share it to all of you so you're getting great results. You feel good mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and you just feel hot and sexy in your new body. So I learned these things sort of sort of the hard way, I guess. I had to collect it myself, and then I was trial and erroring on myself after I had my surgery. And that's why I created these resources around recovery, movement, and confidence after top surgery. Not just the physical healing, but the stuff that comes after. If this video resonated with you, I put together more in-depth resources that walk you through safe progression of exercises, building trust in your body, navigating the emotional side of things, setting goals, returning to movement in a way that actually makes sense. You're not lazy or alone if you feel like recovery feels complicated. You're not weak if you need support, and I want to help you feel like you have a community around you that's supporting you. So thank you for being here, for watching this video. Take care of yourself, and put in the comments something that resonated with you, something maybe if you're someone that knew all of the things that I said, amazing. Please put a tip for other people down below in the comments, and put any questions that you have so I can plan content for the next few videos. Thank you so much for watching. I am Dibs Barisic Sprem of Dibs Fitness.